Hello, Frizzle Forum. Why do I review books? Because I've been doing it for 2 years now, so I better have a reason and I better have an answer to that question. A similar question is, what is the point of a book review? Like, what is the value of a book review? Does it even matter? And those are the big questions of this video. Why do I review books? And what is the use of a book review? Spoiler alert, in the end, it's just because it's fun. So what is the point of a book review? Well, some people would tell you that obviously the point of a book review is to prove and argue whether or not a book is good. But I think that there are several things that are wrong in that statement, and if that's the reason why you're reviewing a book, I think you're doing it wrong. Kind of. Let me elaborate. There's so much nuance here. So the first thing wrong with this statement is whether or not a book is good. Are there good books? And are there bad books? No! Because there's this thing called personal taste, which means everyone's opinion on a book can be different, and they're all just as valid. This is why my opinion doesn't really matter. Your opinion doesn't really matter. My opinion matters, your opinion matters. Everyone's opinion on is this book good matters the same amount as everyone else's opinion, and in that way, book reviews don't matter. I think treating book reviews as if it is an objective measure of the quality of a book is ridiculous, preposterous, haughty, is thinking way too high of your opinion on books. There is no good art and bad art. There is art with greater technical skill displayed, there is art with less technical skill displayed. There is art that someone put a lot of passion and soul into, and there is art that people just made as an assignment and they don't even care about it. But all of those things are somewhat independent of how much you are going to enjoy a book. Your preference might be highly crafted books that have a lot of effort into them. Your preference might also be like the fast food version of a book. So you know what? They're all good. They're all bad. It depends on what you're looking for. And this is the crux of it. If you don't keep this idea in mind, that everyone's opinion is just as valid as your own, that there is no truly good book or truly bad book. There are books that are more well-liked by our society than other books, but I think the point where you embrace the lie that some people's opinions are right and some people's opinions are wrong is when book reviewing becomes less fun. And I don't know about you, but I'm doing this for fun. I think it's so fun to discuss books. It's fun to have disagreeing opinions. It is not fun to argue about books. Like, here's one of my least favorite comments that I've ever received. I'd given a negative review to a book saying that I felt it was slow, and then this person on the internet tells me, and there goes your credibility? Oh, excuse me, I didn't realize that my credibility was hinged on copying your opinion. I mean, if my reviews were just copying the average opinion of the most people about every single book, I think there would go my credibility. Because the purpose of me reviewing books is to express my honest opinion and have fun through discussion. Like, here's another comment that totally disagreed with me and laid out number by number all the points that I got wrong. And it was delightful! Because this lovely commenter obviously understood that their opinion and my opinion were of equal weight and value. They respected my opinion and respected and stayed true to their own opinion, and I adored reading this comment and responding to it. So is the purpose of a book review to prove whether or not a book is good or bad? No. The purpose of my book review is to express my personal opinion on a book. But like, is that it? No. In a lot of ways, my opinion on books matters just as much as every single other person on the planet's opinion about books. But in another way, I have read a lot of books, and in some way that gives credibility to my statements. Let's break that down. There's a concept of having good taste in art. So do I have good taste in books because I've read so many of them and gotten so much practice reviewing them? Well, yes. But what does that mean? I believe down to my core that there is no art that is inherently good or inherently bad. Except if your art is like hate speech, that might be inherently bad. So what I think having good taste as an art critic means is that you're good at identifying the features of the art and figuring out who is the type of person who would enjoy that art. Like, I care so little about sports. When I watch a sports game, I'm like, yep, that was a sports game. But when my friends who have watched hundreds of sports games in their life go to a football game, they can tell me whether or not the game was good and entertaining and why. They can break down exactly the factors and the moments that made it good for them. One of my friends is a musician that listens to an enormous amount of music across a lot of different genres. And if I need a song recommendation, I'm going to her because I can tell her songs that I like, and then she can give me recommendations of different artists and genres and songs to check out. She has a refined taste in music because she's good at identifying the different aspects of music and determining who would like those. And having a good refined taste in something comes from practice. Anyone can develop a good taste in books through reading a lot of books and paying critical attention to what is in them, and listening to other people's reviews to figure out what people like in books and what other people might not like in that book. So one of the reasons that I like to review books is that I get to share my skill set of this refined book taste. My opinion in books is just as valuable as your opinion about books. But because I have a lot of practice with reading a lot of different books, because I have a lot of practice with reviewing books, I might be able to better articulate the reasons behind liking a book than the average Joe. And I love teaching. I love sharing knowledge with people. I love watching book review videos for this exact same reason, because I am learning. Because when I watch someone else's video, I am learning more things to look at when I'm reading books. I'm learning more factors that make someone like or dislike a book. So I hope my reviews can be educational to people in that way, to give them new vocabulary words and concepts to think about in the book discussion sphere. Because it's fun to help people, it's fun to teach and to spread knowledge, and I love it. So back to our questions. Why do I review books? And what is the purpose of a book review? And in the end, it boils down to because it's fun. And let's talk about this in the context of game theory. What is a game? A game is when you set a goal and then you set arbitrary rules to stop you from getting to that goal easily. Like the goal of the game chess is to capture the king of the other player. But are you playing chess right if your first move is just to pick up a random piece and shove it at your opponent's king and say that you won? Obviously not. There are these arbitrary rules that are the engine of the game, that make the game fun. The goal of chess is to knock over the other person's king, but the purpose of chess is to have fun in this battle of wits while you move these pieces around in strategic ways. Let's look at another game. Volleyball. What is the goal of volleyball? To keep the ball in the air forever. But is that the purpose of volleyball? No. The purpose of volleyball is to have fun in the competitive aspect of hitting the ball back and forth. And you've got rules that you set in volleyball to make that happen. And you also have the laws of the universe of gravity that gets in your way. And here's the thing. Book reviewing is also a game. The goal of book reviewing is to prove whether or not a book is good. Every single book review is pointed towards that goal. It's discussing what makes the book good or bad, what makes it fun or terrible. But is that the purpose of a book review? Is that what makes a book review fun? The purpose of a book review is to have fun discussing the books with each other. It's a group game that we're playing back and forth. I volley a positive review to you, and you might volley a negative review back at me. And we're just building this base of knowledge about books. We're building this fun together. In a game, if you take out the rules, it becomes not fun. If a wizard enchanted your volleyball to make it no longer fall down, would that make the game of volleyball fun? No! You would be achieving the goal of volleyball of keeping the ball in the air forever, but not the purpose of volleyball, the competitive striving to keep the ball in the air. If a wizard came along and cursed me, so now my opinion was the objective truth about all books, and as soon as I declared this book is good, everyone would agree with me, then I would be achieving the goal of book reviews, arguing whether or not a book is good or bad, but I would be taking away the entire purpose and fun of a book review, which is just discussing books with people. If you abandon the rules of book reviewing, that everyone's opinion matters as much as everyone else's opinion, we're not here to fight each other, we're here to have fun. If you abandon those rules, book reviewing becomes less fun, not more. Because this isn't a competition kind of game where the only fun you get is from getting first place and being right. This is a striving kind of game. Journey before destination, you know? The purpose of book reviewing is to unwrap a book and dissect it as a group activity. The purpose of book reviewing is to learn more about your personal taste through the challenge of having to articulate that opinion. I review books because it's fun. As soon as I finished filming this video, I knew it wasn't quite right. I knew that I was missing a piece of the puzzle, missing a piece of my soul that I needed to put into this video, but I didn't know what. And so I filmed the video and then put away the footage for like 2 months. But I finally discovered what needs to be added to this video. Here's how I discovered this. I had this experiment where I purposely read some series out of order. And for one of these books, I mentioned in my Goodreads review that it was part of this project. And I got some really interesting comments on that book review. And I was chatting back and forth with people in the comments about this because people were rightly kind of shocked and interested. And then I finally got this question posed to me. Aren't you concerned that your friends and followers will give your reviews less weight as a result of this experiment? And that question rocked me. It was just what I needed. Thank you, Alicia, for commenting on my review. Because I had to think really hard about this. Was I concerned that people would devalue my reviews because of this experiment? Because it does make a lot of sense that if someone is doing this crazy experiment that's obviously not valuing the institution of book reviewing, that you might trust their reviews less after that. So I thought about this question for several weeks before I compiled my response. And this response, this idea about how you value a book review and give it weight, is exactly what this video was missing. So here is my response. No, I'm not concerned about devaluing my own reviewer respectability. In fact, I want to devalue my reviewer respectability. Because my goal here with all of these reviews on YouTube or on Goodreads isn't to convince anyone that Chloe's opinion is the correct one, that you should just trust Chloe's opinions on books because she's always got the right answer. I'd like to think that I have an answer about books, but there isn't a correct one. My goal here is to promote critical thinking about books. My goal here is to have fun while analyzing books and try to encourage other people to do the same. Because it's just one of my favorite activities. I love book reviewing. So I hope when people see my reviews, I hope when people see some of my ridiculous experiments, that they see that and they think, Chloe's gone a little crazy. Or maybe they'll think, huh, that's really smart. Or maybe they'll think, maybe I should try that out and see what I think before I make a conclusion here. Whatever they think, however they react, I want them to form their own opinion. I don't want them to just blindly think, Chloe's got the answer, she found it again with her experimental science. I want their reaction to be continuing the conversation in some way, even if it's just an internal response that they don't share. When I'm making a book review, I'm not trying to make people give more weight to my opinion. I'm trying to poke people into forming their own opinions. Maybe that poke is, I thought this book was 5 stars, and maybe that poke is, you're a coward if you read series in order. But whatever form my opinion takes, I hope people take it as a challenge, a very friendly challenge, to find out for themselves what they think about all of it. So in the end, I hope that people give my reviews less weight. I don't want people to be putting so much trust in my book reviews that they think it's the truth in some way. I hope everyone gives everyone's book reviews less weight and more friendly pokes back and forth. I love book reviews just as much as the next person. Well, maybe a lot more than the next person because I'm kind of obsessed with book reviews. But I don't think that anyone's opinion on a book is any more correct than anyone else's, including mine. I mean, before I pick up a book, I do look at reviews, but never just from one person. I'll look at a variety of reviews and try to get a sense for the book, try to feel maybe if I'll like it, and specifically what they're critiquing in it. And through that process, I try to pick up only books that I'll enjoy. If you've been watching my book reviews for any length of time, you'll know that I certainly give out my fair share of 1 and 2 star ratings because it's not a perfect system. Because no matter how much I trust and respect a book reviewer, no matter how much our tastes tend to align, we're always going to have a disagreement. We're never going to align perfectly. We are never going to always think the same thing about a book, because a book in itself is art that can be interpreted in so many different ways, and a book review is also art in that it's interesting communication. So I value my own book reviews as an art form of communication, but I don't value my book reviews as thinking that they're in some way the truth of what this book means and what it's worth. So the question, aren't you concerned that your friends and followers will give your reviews less weight as a result of this experiment? I sure hope they do. If you want to trust my book reviews and use them as an indication of what books you should read, go ahead! But I hope that never becomes a substitute for you forming your own opinion on the book, especially if your opinion disagrees with mine. My critique of a book is a piece of art in itself, and you can admire it if you wish. I know I watch a lot of booktube videos just because they're entertaining and fun, and I'm obsessed with book reviews. But listening to critique on a piece of art is never a substitution for experiencing that art for yourself. And I hope that you, even if you never share it for anyone, review and analyze and critique books for yourself. Because in the end, that's the game we're playing. And a special thanks to all of my patrons. If you want to join the Frizzle Fantasy Fish Book Club, it's $2 a month and it is a blast.